Hey weirdos, it's Dan back with another review, and this time this is going to be a first for me and probably the last time I ever do something like this, but I'm reviewing a short story called The Quiet Boy by Nick Antosca. And I'm going to go, after I do my review, I'm going to go into the reasons why I decided to read and review this and share it with you guys. The Quiet Boy is about a little boy named Lucas. It starts out where it's in the school setting, and the teacher, her name is Julie or Julia, and she's asking the students, she's explaining the idea of a story and tells them that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and she's asking the students to write a story. And the author goes into the descriptions about Lucas, and we kind of get the idea that Lucas is not your typical kid. He's one of the kids who's from a very poor community. We know that he's not very well taken care of, that maybe his family has some home problems. And she sees that Lucas is feverishly, illustrating his story. He's drawing these pictures. And his story is kind of like Goldilocks, except it's three wolves. And one of the things that Nick Antosca is very well known for doing screenplays. He did a show for the Sci-Fi Channel that was called Channel Zero, which I have not seen, but I'm going to have to go check that out. If I can find out if it's available streaming someplace, I want to see this show, because I know it was something that got canceled, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. But he does some very good, subtle descriptors that kind of lead you in. They pull you into the story further and further. But yeah, at the same time, he gives you enough details, but it's not being spoon-fed to you. He still gives you enough so that you still have to think and figure things out for yourself. Eventually, it winds up where she goes to visit the kid's home, and that's where things just kind of all unfurl, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but this story is magical realism, horror, dark fantasy, and it just crosses over these different genres. And at first, I was thinking that this might be a story about werewolves, which, there aren't too many horror stories about werewolves out there. So I was intrigued, and I was like, I want to check this story out. I want to find out more about it, and if I can, I want to read it. So I found it, and it is available free online to read. It's at GuernicaMag.com, The Quiet Boy, and I will have the link down below so you guys can check this out for yourselves. And the reason why this story is kind of getting noticed and why the hype about it is because there is this horror film called Antlers that is coming out on April 17th of this year. You can search for the trailer. I think there's only one trailer. I searched for Antlers trailer, and then I searched for Red Band trailer, and they seem to be the same trailer, so I don't think there are varying trailers. It stars Kerry Russell, and it looks like it's going to be slightly different from the story. And I heard about the story and the movie because these things were not on my radar. I've been listening to a few different podcasts, and I've been listening to this one horror podcast called Staring Into the Abyss. I would recommend reading the story first before you go and check out the trailer, and especially before you go and listen to the podcast. The podcast is very spoilery. They hold nothing back. They will tell you almost the whole entirety of the story, leaving little left for you to discover on your own. And that's another reason why I don't want to spoil it for you. I really enjoyed the story. I gave it a 5 out of 5 rating on Goodreads. Yes, it is on Goodreads. It's a short story all by itself, hosted on a web page, and there is a page for it on Goodreads. There is a listing on Goodreads for it, so you can read this. And yeah, but like I said, I really enjoyed. I only listened to one episode of Staring into the Abyss. And they seem like they're right up my alley. They seem more likable than other horror podcasts I've listened to. These guys also read comics, and they are voracious readers, and they watch, like, TV shows and movies and stuff like that. And they do this thing, I guess, like, every time they film a podcast, they say, these are the pop culture things that we had experienced before this episode since the last podcast, and they talk about them, and they talk about comics and stuff like that, and I really think that's cool. And some of the guys do not have the best of audio quality, so it isn't like that great, but it's a good enough for me. I enjoy it. But like I said, do not listen to the podcast episode until you read the story, and I would recommend not seeing the trailer until you get a chance to read the story too, so that way you're not going to be influenced by, because I have a feeling that the film is going to be really different, or kind of slightly different from the story. Whereas I originally thought when I started reading it that it was about werewolves. Come to find out, and I don't know if this could be considered a spoiler, but it's about Wendigos. By the time I got to the end of the story, I thought it was about satyrs, because I had heard stories about Wendigos before, but I was not aware that in Wendigo mythology that they would have antlers, because like antlers and goat's eyes and all that kind of sounds like a satyr to me. But, like, when you read the story, it'll kind of make more sense to you about that stuff. So I kind of really just wanted to share these items with you guys. If you are horror fans, that's why I wanted to put this video out. I'm going to put it out probably today, the day of filming this. It's April 2nd of 2020, so I just wanted to put this out because I know the movie's coming out this month. So I want you guys to go out, read this story, and then check out the trailer, and go check out that podcast too. I thought it was pretty cool. So I will have the links for the book or the story down below. You can just search Antlers for the trailer. I'm not going to put a link for that because it's easily searchable. And Staring into the Abyss is the name of the podcast. You should be able to find that on your Apple Music, or Spotify is where I listen to it at. That's all I got for you guys. Like I said, I just wanted to share these things with you. Thank you for watching. If you came here looking for more horror reviews or recommendations, please hit that subscriber button. While you're there, hit that notification bell. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this has been Dan.